What happens when the most powerful person in a country is absolutely convinced everyone wants them dead? Not in theory, not as a political metaphor, but literally. When a ruler believes the servants are spies, the generals are traitors, the neighbors are assassins, and the silence itself is suspicious. History gives us the answer. You get execution lists longer than tax rolls. You get secret police listening through walls. You get palaces designed like traps. You get rulers who sleep in different rooms every night, if they sleep at all. And sometimes, just to be safe, these leaders execute a few thousand people. Not because they did anything, but because they might. Today, we're meeting the most paranoid rulers ever to sit on a throne. Men who ruled not through confidence, but through fear, fear of betrayal, fear of whispers, fear of shadows. And by the end, we're crowning one of them the undisputed king of paranoia. So sit back and relax, because what you are about to see will leave you speechless. Domitian, Rome's spy emperor. Let's start in ancient Rome, where paranoia wore a toga. Emperor Domitian ruled from 81 to 96 CE, and if there was one thing he trusted, it was absolutely no one. The Roman Senate, the political elite of the empire, were supposed to be his partners in governance. Domitian saw them as enemies waiting for their moment. He executed senators for vague crimes like disrespect and insufficient enthusiasm. Informants flooded the court. Accusations became currency. Loyalty became dangerous. Domitian didn't just suspect conspiracies, he engineered his life around them. According to ancient sources, he had mirrors installed in palace corridors so he could see behind himself at all times. He reportedly ordered holes drilled into ceilings so he could spy on guests during banquets. So now imagine being invited to dinner with the emperor and realizing he's literally watching you eat from above. Rome's elite lived in constant terror, never knowing which joke, glance, or silence would be interpreted as treason. Eventually, Domitian's paranoia became self-fulfilling. In 96 CE, palace officials assassinated him. Rome erased his name from monuments, a punishment called damnatio memoriae. Even in death, the empire wanted him forgotten. But Domitian had set the template. Absolute power plus absolute suspicion equals absolute terror. But it did not end there. Qin Shi Huang, the emperor who feared death itself. If Domitian feared people, Qin Shi Huang feared something much bigger. And that thing was death. China's first emperor didn't just worry about assassination, though there were real attempts on his life. He believed the universe itself was trying to kill him, so he fought back. Qin Shi Huang unified China in 221 BCE and immediately began protecting himself like a man expecting an attack from reality itself. He never slept in the same palace twice in a row. He kept his location secret even from top officials. He executed scholars who criticized him. He burned books that challenged his authority. But that wasn't enough. He ordered the construction of what would become the Great Wall, not as a symbol, but as a massive defensive scar across the landscape. And when that still didn't feel safe, he planned for the afterlife. The Terracotta Army, over 8,000 life-size soldiers, was buried to guard him in death. An entire army, frozen in clay, just in case the afterlife had enemies too. And here comes the shocking part. Qin Shi Huang drank mercury-laced elixirs to achieve immortality. Ironically, the mercury killed him. Qin Shi Huang didn't just rule with paranoia, he tried to outlive it, and failed. The Hongwu Emperor, trust issues on an imperial scale. Up next is the case of Zhu Yuanzhang, a man who began life as a peasant. Then he became a rebel leader before he became emperor. And finally, he became afraid of everyone who helped him get there. As founder of the Ming dynasty, the Hongwu Emperor ruled for 30 years and spent most of them purging his own government. He believed conspiracies were everywhere. To him, the conspirators included former allies, potential traitors, generals, future rebels, scholars, and even free and dangerous thinkers. He created secret police forces that answered only to him. Accusations didn't require proof. Confessions were extracted. Entire families were executed for association. Tens of thousands died. Hongwu built his empire on loyalty and then destroyed that loyalty through fear. By the end of his reign, no one spoke freely. Silence was safer than honesty. Survival meant invisibility. The Ming dynasty would last centuries. The scars of Hongwu's paranoia lasted just as long. And here comes the one you don't want to miss. Henry VIII, England's beheading enthusiast. Paranoia doesn't always start out as dramatic. Sometimes it starts with an injury. In 1536, Henry VIII suffered a severe jousting accident. He never fully recovered. His health declined. His temper worsened. His trust evaporated. Henry became convinced that disagreement was treason and opposition was heresy. Two of his wives, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, lost their heads on charges that were, at best, questionable. Close advisors were executed after falling out of favor. Friends vanished overnight. Henry believed God had chosen him personally. Anyone who challenged him wasn't just wrong, they were enemies of divine will. If you disagreed with Henry VIII, you were either a traitor, a heretic, or both. And then he leaves you headless. During Henry's time, England became a kingdom where survival depended entirely on staying inside the king's shifting definition of loyalty. Ivan the Terrible, paranoia on horseback. Now, if Henry made people fear him, Ivan IV didn't just distrust people, he hunted them. But Ivan's pain can be traced back to his childhood. As a child, he was traumatized and surrounded by power struggles. Because of this system, Ivan grew up seeing enemies everywhere, and eventually made them real. After his wife died suddenly, Ivan became convinced she had been poisoned by nobles. That belief broke something in him. He created the Oprichnina, a personal terror force dressed in black, riding through cities with severed dog heads and brooms strapped to their saddles, symbolically sniffing out traitors and sweeping them away. It got worse when the entire city was accused of treason. Novgorod was massacred, nobles were tortured, families were exterminated. Ivan trusted no one, not advisors, not cities, not even his own son, whom he killed in a rage. Through Ivan, Russia learned what it meant when paranoia became policy. Joseph Stalin, industrial-scale distrust. Then came Stalin. Unlike the others Joseph made, paranoia to stop being personal. In his time, it became systematic. Stalin didn't just fear betrayal, he expected it. Everywhere. Constantly. During the Great Purge of the 1930s, Stalin unleashed terror on an industrial scale. Generals were arrested. Party members disappeared. Confessions were tortured out of innocent people. Over 36,000 Red Army officers were executed, imprisoned, or dismissed in just 2 years. The military was decapitated on the eve of World War II. Why? Because Stalin believed spies were everywhere. Images were altered to erase purged officials. Families denounced each other. Children informed their parents of the happenings. Survival required absolute obedience and absolute silence. This wasn't paranoia as madness. This was paranoia as governance. Kim Jong-un, the nuclear bodyguard, and somehow paranoia didn't end with the Cold War. It just got missiles. Kim Jong-un rules North Korea with obsessive secrecy. He executes relatives, he purges generals, he causes officials to disappear for perceived disrespect, and he builds nuclear weapons not primarily to threaten the world, but to protect himself. To him, nukes aren't ideology, they're insurance. Kim assumes everyone wants him gone, whether it was foreign powers, internal rivals, even his own family. So he makes himself untouchable, using missiles as bodyguards, silence as survival. The verdict: who wins? Paranoia, gold, and now to the ultimate question: who walks away with the paranoia crown among these rulers? Domitian spied on his own dinner guests, treating every smile as a potential plot. Qin Shi Huang tried to outrun death itself, building walls, armies, and fantasies of immortality to feel safe. Hongwu slaughtered the revolution that put him in power. Henry VIII turned disagreement into treason and loyalty into a moving target. Ivan the Terrible transformed suspicion into terror, condemning entire cities as enemies. Kim Jong-un wrapped his fear in missiles, turning nuclear weapons into personal bodyguards. But Stalin went further than all of them. He turned paranoia into policy. His fear wasn't impulsive, it was organized, industrial, and relentless. No ruler in history matched the scale or efficiency of his distrust. He didn't just fear conspiracies, he manufactured them. For that, Joseph Stalin earns the title of the most paranoid ruler ever recorded. All hail the Tsar of trust issues. History shows us that paranoia doesn't just destroy rulers. It reshapes nations. It builds walls. It fills graves. It teaches people to whisper. So, who do you think was the most paranoid ruler? And, more importantly, who's watching right now? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal updates. And be sure to check out the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.